Fascinating story that I think so many of us can resonate to. So Karin, can you go ahead and join us on stage? You should have a mic too.
Thank you. I love groups like this, very open.
Yeah, just fresh off the plane.
No, yes, I know. I just got off the plane. I'm sorry I was a little late.
No problem.
But
okay.
I could listen to all of your investing.
Yeah.
All of you guys talking about investing all day.
So Karin, tell us a little bit about Crypto Mommy and then the Association of Women in Crypto, and then we want to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of things.
You know, Crypto Mommy's it started as just kind of who I was, my moniker, because at the time when I got into crypto, because that was the first time I was ever exposed to any sort of money or investing, I was one of the only people who actually had children, to be honest, because it's a very, very young, at the time, it was a very young industry. And so I started off as a day trader. There's a whole story behind that. But because I was a day trader and 99.9% of day trading is men. But anyways, they named me Crypto Mommy and it stuck. So, you know, later you can find me. I have like a free newsletter. It's just to I'm just starting it. It's just to help people kind of figure out where they are on that type of journey, you know, starting from pretty much bottom of the barrel, nothing, to kind of where they want to be. And Association of Women in Crypto, I'm the Texas chapter president. And what it is, it's really to make crypto not so scary. It's to make it a little bit more accessible for how to integrate it into your professional life. If you are a professional, whether it be any sort of type of business, you know, crypto is going to be one of those things that's going to be ubiquitous out there. It's going to be everywhere. You're hearing all about it on the news. But in terms of payments, accepting payments, it's going to be integrated into people's startups, into their businesses. And it's international. You know, you're just going to see so many things change. So Association of Women in Crypto is kind of take away some of that mystery. But then it's also to encourage women to kind of excel and succeed in male-dominated spaces. You know, I do see men in this room, so I'm not gonna be too hard on you. But but you know, it's one of those things where I'm very passionate about women getting involved in any sort of emerging technology. Very incredibly passionate. I can go on and on and on about how many women, if you're just starting out in your career, if you're in school, if you're restarting your career, your life, you know, really look at fintech, really look at the financial markets. We are incredibly underrepresented, but you know, statistics show is that we're better investors as a whole. We're better at budget, money management, getting returns on investments, and we're also we're actually statistically better day traders out there too. So that's what I would say about that.
So Karin, before we kind of get going, because I want to talk about when did money change for you, what's the best way for people to connect with you on social?
Yes, on Twitter, or X, I'm Crypto Mom Life. That's what I am, all one word. And on Instagram, I'm just Crypto Mommy, CryptoMommi. And on LinkedIn, I'm the only Karin Kusano. My parents had to be weird and choose a Swedish spelling name for a Japanese last name. So I am the only Karin Kusano on LinkedIn. You're free to message me at any time. I get a little delayed because I have 4 wonderful, beautiful children that are all in junior high and below. But I do answer all my messages. So if you ever have any questions, just please feel free to reach out.
Great. And so the reason why I was so excited to have Karin join us is because we're constantly talking about building companies, growing them, making money. But if we don't really talk about our relationship with money, we won't see the full growth. And I think it's important for us to feel comfortable to talk about money, whether you're a novice with it and you've made mistakes before, or you're really great at it. All of us have had a journey with money, and as we get more information, our relationship with money changes. But Karin, I'm curious for you, what was the turning point? Because I think while you've got this incredible career now, what was the turning point for you? Because money didn't always mean the same thing for you, right?
Right, you know, and Jasmine's being super kind. I think I can just be really brutally honest. Do we want some honesty in this room?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I am a pretty transparent person. And, you know, I was in one of those things called a relationship. Got in the relationship really young, probably, I think I was like 21. And, over time, I think what happened is, you just kind of default to those gender normal roles of, okay, somebody else, one person in the relationship takes care of all the finances and the other person just kind of takes care of the home. And, that was the wrong thing. And I'm going to kind of maybe stop at certain points in the story because I want you to really focus on the fact that if you see yourself in this situation, kind of maybe don't do what I did. and then if you know anybody in these situations, there is help out there for them. So my situation ended up becoming pretty tough where at the end of it, I actually had what we call autonomy and sovereignty. So sovereignty is this idea of that I'm kind of like an island. I'm this independent. I can let somebody onto my island. I can give somebody partnership and resources off my island, but I should really be my own island, right? I should have some sort of ability to financially support myself, to be able to walk out at any time if things ever got tough. And, I wasn't in one of those situations. Long story short, ended up having joint everything. I know that's what society tells you. Society tells you you should have joint bank accounts, you should have joint credit cards, you should have joint debts, joint loans, joint car loans. But the thing is when you're in a relationship, you really don't know what joint means or what that person's intentions are until the relationship ends. It's all going well until it doesn't. And then for me, the laws are created, right? So joint, there's transparency, but you really don't have actual equal ownership. There's a difference there. And what I mean by that is by the time I ended up ending the relationship, within just a few days, car was sold. All the credit cards were run up to the full max amount on purpose. All the bank accounts went to zero, absolutely zero. I didn't even have enough money for a tank of gas. I couldn't get a hotel room. Why? They need credit on a credit card. I couldn't rent a car. You need credit on a credit card. And it was one of those situations where I pretty much was trapped and didn't have any sort of way to actually leave because I had no access to money or resources. I had nothing, like absolutely zero to my name. But what he didn't realize at the time was that I actually knew a lot about crypto. Now here's the thing, you don't need a ton of money to start educating yourself. I don't care. I would stay up when everyone else was sleeping and I would watch a ton of YouTube videos. Please don't do that now because there's actually real information out there and safe information and resources by going through Her Texas. But at the time, there was only YouTube. I mean, I literally had to just stay up all night watching YouTube. And what I realized is I was like, there is a way to actually use money without giving somebody access to money. And it was a totally revolutionary thing to me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. And slowly over time, I got ready. I got ready to leave, and it takes a while. And so for literally a couple years, I taught myself everything there is to know about the industry, about trading, about crypto, about investing. And I had enough money to finally leave the relationship and have my 4 kids with me. And this is the trick, right? Because I just got back from speaking at Bitcoin Vegas, huge conference. The trick is that now there's more options than ever to use your crypto, and that's why I think whatever content that Her Texas comes out with, to really pay attention. Because back then when I left, I literally went to the hotel room and I was like, can I get a room for my kids and I? And they're like, no. And I was like, but I have all this crypto on something called a cold storage. So cold storage is a wallet. It's a wallet that holds all of your assets in crypto. And I was like, I have it, but I couldn't spend it. There were no payment rails. There was no PayPal taking it. There was no Visa taking stable coins. Okay, everything I just mentioned right there, Visa, PayPal, MasterCard, they're all taking crypto payments now. So I would have had a way to freedom versus then I slept in the parking lot. Okay, because I couldn't get a hotel room, even though I had thousands of dollars on this thing called a cold storage. So, you are at one of the most phenomenal times in financial technology. I am so excited for you because literally it's happening in real time. This is one of the only times you are going to see the total transformation of how we use money. And I would just encourage you, please, please, please start learning.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for being so candid and sharing the story. But I think it's so important for us to have these dialogues because, we can be at networking events, picking up our kids, going to coffee shop and have no idea what's happening. And you would think that someone going through, and this is what's called financial abuse. It's a phrase that I wasn't even aware of, but I absolutely know friends and family members that have absolutely experienced this. I didn't know it was an actual thing. That you have no idea what they're going through, and they don't look like what they're going through. And so for me, as someone who's trying to build an organization to advance wealth and advance the economics of women, we can't do that without really talking about money. And money is not just spending and investing. Money is how we use it, the independence, and I love the word you use, sovereignty, too.
Yeah, who wants a little detour?
Go for it.
Okay, we're going to go on a detour. The detour is, I love that Jasmine brought up the fact that it is financial abuse, but a lot of you probably aren't aware of the signs because of how we grew up. Okay, so like for example, if you do not have 100% access and autonomy over the money you make, that is a red flag. Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads here. I'm a little scared, okay? because we think like, oh, but I'm committing to this partnership. I'm committing to like the joint bills but who gets to spend it the most? And maybe it's different. A lot of relationships where it's like the woman gets to spend more, whatever. It doesn't matter. Men can be financially abused just as much as women can be financially abused. The whole entire point is that there are so many red flags that people don't even realize, borrowing small amounts of money all the time but never paying it back, saying, oh, I'm short, baby, like, can you cover it this month? I'm not saying this is full out blown my situation, but all of these red flags popped up that I totally ignored, and the thing is it's about your relationship with yourself and with money. And that's what I've had to learn, right? Like, are you a people pleaser? Well, you might be more susceptible, like me. I'm an empath, I'm a people pleaser. You might be a little bit more susceptible to certain kinds of financial abuses. Are you somebody who, you have a scarcity mindset because that's how you were raised? And maybe you hate talking about money because of that situation. That's also going to lead you to kind of an avenue of possibly being financially abused. So I really encourage people, I'm like, even if you have no money, like let's say you walk out of here, you have no money to invest, no money to spend, what you can do is you can start learning about your relationship with money. And the relationship isn't about spending it, it's about how do I relate to it. I was very risk adverse, and I'm an empath, and I'm somebody who is a people pleaser. Okay, that's a very bad combination for somebody who has a very dominant personality, like to be paired up with them. Why? Because I'm a people pleaser. I'm not gonna bring up anything about finances. I hate talking about money. And it just led, follow the yellow brick road. It kind of ended up there versus now, I think your awareness of who you are. So what I ask is I'm saying, how are you with risk? Risk is putting up something that you're willing to lose 100% of it. Some of you might be like, I'm fine with risk now because I know what I've been through, so I'm fine with risk. I'm like, if I put in something into investment, please, this is not financial advice, do not do what I do, is that if I invest in something risky, I'm okay with it going totally to zero. But that's my risk. I've researched it, I've done my own research, I've looked at the asset, but you have other strategies like dollar cost averaging, you have like kind of long-term holding. I heard somebody say that in the S&P. I think that's one of the smarter strategies out there. So, you don't know any of that because you don't know how you act and interact with money. And this is really important if you're building a business, okay? Because if you're building a business and you are totally risk adverse, you are gonna need to figure out some things. Because if that risk aversion is either gonna hold you back or make you scared, or you're not gonna speak up, or you're not going to want to have to face the accountant or the finances, or you're not going to have, you're going to be, let's say you meet, we were just at this meeting the other day. Okay, here comes Ted Draper. Okay, Ted Draper's one of the first investors in SpaceX and Tesla. There were so many people so scared to say hi, and they were so afraid of the ask. And it's like, you will probably never see him ever again in your life. Now, I don't say attack him in the elevator or anything like that, but what I'm saying is that, if you know what you have, if you know how much you're willing to risk, if you know where your company's at, if you know what you need, if you know what you're willing to invest or lose, then it just becomes an easier conversation. We should be able to speak about money as easily as we talk about getting our nails done and our hair done. And that is like what I'm really passionate about. I'm sorry, we went on the detour.
No, you're
okay.
No, you're good. And I want to make sure we leave time. So I have another 1 or 2 questions, and this is the time for you all to ask all the questions too. I would also clarify too that, relationships are business too. I just talked to a member of our community that she just ended a company after 8 years because of financial abuse with her business partner, who was also a friend of her sorority sister. So yes, we talk about those gender kind of norms of male-female relationships, but financial abuse is prevalent in any kind of interpersonal relationship you have. So kind of think that lens. I'd like to turn a little bit to talk about you said about our relationship with money, but it's also how we view, a lot of us think of money as just income, but I'd love for you to talk a little about that. It's about power. Yeah. Can you tell us a little, how do we start to redefine, especially if you're working full time, you're just used to having that check. And I will tell y'all too, I have a lot of family members that are still waiting for me to stop being an entrepreneur because they've been asking for 15 years. And I was like, yeah, I can already tell, I've already gone over, it's not going back. But they're like, you don't get the 2-week check, Jasmine. It's a very limited mindset. Now, culturally, where we come from dictates that. But it's not just income, it's about power for us, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna kind of go to like I'm gonna first start with a little story and then kind of go forward. So basically, the reason why I get a little bit of notoriety, which I didn't want this to happen to become like a little bit more of a speaker and why, but I actually, during that time, and power, right? This is about power. Who has the control? And I ended up with that cold storage. Remember I talked to you about having that Bitcoin and Ethereum on it. I actually went to court. And I'm a very honest person. And I was like, hey, I have this wallet. This is what it has on it. And literally, the person I was with had quit their job the day before court. And I was ordered to liquidate and to give the accounts for his legal fees. And
because he had quit his job?
Because he had quit his job. Yes. Exactly. Even though the bank accounts were drained to zero, didn't know where they were, everything. So this goes to the power part, right? The power play part. So we're in there, and I'm literally like, you can have the equities account because I built up a trading equities account, but you can't have this. And they were like, well, what if we tell you you have to, and you can get in a lot of trouble because we're the court system? And I'm like, okay, I understand that. But the thing about crypto and the way it works is that if you have it stored in a certain way, they cannot access it. Nobody can. It's called your private keys. Your private keys is like the only lock in the world that can ever unlock it. And they can't have it unless you give it to them. And so it really gave me the first time ever in my life where I could actually say no. No to bank draining it, no to handing it over. Now, I'm not gonna not comply if it was a court order. Of course you comply. That would be ridiculous. But this was just during the fight, right? This was just the fighting stage in the beginning. And what also makes crypto unique is that they were able to see it on blockchain. So for example, I have this, no one can get to it ever unless I give them permission, but there's an address that you can Google that's associated with it, right? And on that address, everybody's able to see it. So everybody's able to see what's actually on this. Now, of course, I don't want people to know it's me, but if I give it and disclose it to lawyers, if I give it and disclose it to the judge, right, they're able to look it up and see this is still there. So what I told the judge is I was like, you are gonna see this amount on it, and none of it will move ever if you tell me you don't want it moved. And then she goes, can he see what's on it? I go, absolutely, he can see what's on it. She goes, totally fine then. but not 1 cent better move. My crypto was frozen for almost the entire time of the divorce. Now, here's the thing about power. It was the ability to say no. It was the ability to actually hold what was mine. It doesn't matter. I wasn't a millionaire. This wasn't like millions of dollars, okay? Like, I think we associate power with amount. I think we associate power with net in my bank account, the car I drive, the suit I wear. No, the power was in ownership and ability for somebody to take from me. I was never going to put myself in a position again where somebody could take something from me that I earned and that was mine. And so, you know, I really encourage all of you to kind of look at how your accounts are set up. Look at how your business agreements are set up. Look at how your will is set up. Look at how your, you know, look at if you have a trust, look at how your trust is set up, you know. And the reason why is because this is, we're all going to have to, crypto is very unique and it's going to be adopted more, but we all live in a world of having laws that I personally don't think are very advantageous to ownership and sovereignty, but we have to work within these systems, we have to work in with these laws. So I just say, you know, your whole financial health, your whole financial life is looking at, you're in a good position if, do I have the ability to say no? No one can take it from me. Do I have proof of ownership? And how is that all designed? You know, she just brought up a founder financially abusing another founder. Okay, there weren't checks and balances in place. You can do things where there are always a checks and balance, you know, and I would highly, highly encourage that.
Yeah, and she said she just didn't bring it up because she was uncomfortable because they were friends, right? And it's this idea of, like you said, it should be like talking about coffee. Now, I see some glazed over looks, Karen,
Sure.
because for some of us that are brand new to all the terminology, I just want to take a second before we open it up for us to tell us, what is crypto? Sure. What's a wallet? Sure. Who's Ted Draper? Like, just give us a little summary of all the, but give us like a third grade, fourth grade vibes.
And if somebody can record this part and I can get it, that'd be great, even if it's on your phone. Awesome. Because honestly, I actually work with an association called the National Cryptocurrency Association. You can go to their website called nca.org. And what you would do is they have a Crypto 101 course. You're actually able to look at like all the definitions. Ali Tager, who's a close friend, actually runs Crypto Explained. So she does everything from the aspect if you're a total new person, you don't know anything, and she runs through all of the information that you'll probably need to learn. What is the definition of something? How do I get started? And it's a great organization, totally unbiased, non-political. They're just out there to get the information out there for people. So I would go there, you know, and so what, you know, I'll kind of just start with the basics of how I learned, right? So I can't really take your brain and put it here, but I can kind of where I was at, I had no knowledge. And so what you want to think of now of crypto is that it's actually just a form of technology, right? It's a form of technology to transfer value. And over time, it's taken on different meanings because it acts as a different kind of asset, right? Crypto is one of the only assets where you can instantaneously purchase it after a company launches. And it's not like a traditional company where they issue stocks, right? A lot of these companies in crypto issued tokens. Well, tokens are different because anyone can buy it. It's fractional. So fractional means that, and this is why I get excited about it. There are downsides. Please always research both sides, okay? I'm gonna say that, stop here. Always research the positives and the negatives. I'm gonna talk a lot about the positives because this is how I was brought up in the industry. But let's say you want to buy 1 share of Tesla. You know, 1 share of Tesla, you're going to have to somehow get on Robinhood, and you're going to somehow have to get $375 or $400, whatever it's trading at right now, right? And then now you own 1 share of Tesla. Now, what can you do with that share of Tesla, that 1 share? You can hold it. You can sell it, I guess, for maybe $1 gain or $2, because it only goes up like $1 or $2 every few days, right? Or it goes down or it goes up. And you can hold it for the long term, and then that, hopefully it'll double, triple, quadruple. And I think that's a great, great strategy. The reason why crypto is different is those tokens, one, let's say I wanted to buy one token that was worth $400. I can actually buy what we call a fractional. So I do not have to buy one whole $400 token like I do one whole Tesla share. I can buy actually $40 worth. I can buy $10 worth. I can buy $4 worth. I can buy $1 worth. And that is one of the beautiful aspects of crypto is you can have a very high quality asset and you can buy a fractional. It doesn't matter how low you start. You can buy the tiniest amount. And that's what gives you power, participation. There is power in participation. Traditional finance and all these really what we call the Magnificent Seven, the biggest tech companies out there, there is very little ability for somebody where I started out to participate in that market. I can participate. Do I say go out and buy every crypto? No, don't do that. Don't buy every crypto token. What you need to do is start small. Here's the other thing. How many of you know actually how to buy, sell, lend? Like how many of you know how to do that on like a regular platform like Robinhood? And it's okay if it's zero. Okay, perfect. The beautiful thing about crypto is that you can actually take it, the small amount. I can teach you everything you need to know how to do in crypto on the mechanics, meaning buy, sell, dollar cost average, invest, stake it, what we call staking. I can do that all with $5. How to send it, how to receive it, how to set up a wallet, how to on-ramp to a bank with $5. You cannot do that in traditional trading platforms or traditional banks. You cannot do that on Chase. You cannot do that with Bank of America. Sorry, I bank with them. Don't come down and hit me, And the reason why that is so important is because imagine if women and men who had no ability to participate in real financial markets finally had the ability to participate. They finally had a stake in it. They finally had the ability to understand that they can also invest, even if it's a small at a fractional level. That's power. That's the good old boys in suits realizing that we actually have the ability to get in there and start making our own investment choices. Do I say do it all on your own? No, never. Like my goal in everything I do is to give you enough information so you go out there and you start a very tiny account. And when you start this tiny account, you learn all the mechanics that you need to be able to be self-sufficient in your journey in self-investing. However, don't get rid of the people who are actually the professionals. The reason why I say do it yourself is you have more knowledge and you can check them, okay? I don't know how many of you have a broker or a stock or an investment analyst or a broker, pretty much. They don't like me. Do you know why? Because you can probably beat them on the percentages of gain. You might not beat them on amount, right? Because percentage is relative. They might be handling $10,000, you might be only handling 500. But still, if you get 10% return and they only get 4% return, we have to have a conversation, Mr. Broker. Why? Because a lot of them are given the information from their broker just to keep as much money possible under management, not necessarily to get as much return. You have to look everything at a lens. Everything of a lens is what benefits them the most, what benefits me. And so all I say is get enough information, start these transactional accounts to be able to actually take what we call alpha. Alpha gives you confidence, right? Get your own confidence to be able to question them. They're managing your money. You should be able to ask them at any time why they're not getting a certain return. And there could be a very good reason. Don't get me wrong, there could be a very good reason. But also, if they're not even knowledgeable about certain alternative assets or anything, then you know what? That's for your own knowledge. That's for your own knowledge to know like how your money's being handled. And so
Well, I want to open it up because I feel
I'm
like
so
there may
sorry.
be
I
some
keep going
questions.
on and
No,
on
no,
and
no.
on. I'm a
It's-
talker. Can't you tell?
No, it's incredible information too, and we need like a whole half day with you, Karen. But that gives me a good segue that we actually, Megan and I were talking about. So Megan is one of our members, and she's the Texas ambassador for Stand With Crypto, which is a grassroots organization. She's how I met Karin, and I'm really passionate about us being educated and informed. And you decide when you want to do it, but we should have the information we need to make the decisions we need to. So her Texas is going to be hosting a information session on crypto probably in June. So for our members, the QR code isn't up here, but we'll make sure it comes back for you guys. Please connect with us. Don't use not having information as a reason to not go. And I'll also make sure if there's any links that we can share, we will happily do so as well. So I want to open it up to see, are there any questions? Oh, and then before I have a note to tell you guys. We have 2 tickets left for lunch. So after this session, that's all we have is 2 tickets. So if you didn't get lunch ticket, you only have 2 more if you want to join us. If you're not joining us for lunch, we'll be back here at 2 o'clock for our final session. So just wanted to let you guys, we'll be back, and we'll be at Jolie Petite for lunch. Okay, question.
Real quick. Can they tune into that session?
Yeah, it's going to be in person and virtual. Mm-hmm.
Okay, do it. And here's the reason why. Megan and I, we were messaging on the plane. We're figuring out how to do something, a workshop where at the minimum you guys can learn how to start up your own wallets. Okay, so yeah.
Virtual, in person.
Virtual.
So, okay.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned something very powerful for me, at least it sat with me really heavy in a way, the scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
That in our culture, my mom is from Mexico, my father's from Honduras, and I was raised that, yes, you save money, and that brings riches, at least what my mom would say. And so I didn't get taught how to save money and how to make it work for you.
Yeah.
How do you overcome the scarcity mindset that our culture, that I'm assuming that's also something that happened to you,
Yeah.
and how do you overcome it in marriage and in your life as a person, as a woman, and to take that step of power into saving money and crypto and all that?
You know, I think it's really tough. You know, a lot of therapy for me, but but the reason why it's tough is because I think you hit on the nail on the head. There's a lot of cultural norms. You know, I love the fact that we're in a very diverse area right now. That's the first thing I noticed when I walked off the plane. And you know, you're taught the same tenements of working hard, just saving up every single little cent possible. You know, never, you know, everything's for your education. You know, things of that nature. But what I think a way to maybe look at it is I look at assets as something that is meant to kind of produce and live and breathe, right? So you would never tell your child to just sit still in a race, right? You wouldn't just ever tell them, just sit, because it's a race. You know, you would be like kind of kicking them along and get out there and start running, you know, because, you know, they trained for it, they're smart, you know, they're gonna run this race. You want them to win. You never start a race thinking you're gonna lose. If you start a race thinking you're gonna lose, you're never gonna win. You know, and so what I say about that, about assets, whether it's money, whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto, whether it's savings, it's meant to do something for you, you know, and I'm not ever here to judge what it does. But what I say is, why would you just let it sit still? You know, and what I'm talking about sitting still is the money in a shoebox underneath the bed. Okay, like I can guarantee you all of us in here probably still have a grandparent, if not a parent, that is still stashing cash somewhere in the house. Okay, a lot of nonsense here. So that it's not doing anything for you. And that makes me so sad because you could, okay, and here's the reason why they probably don't have a lot of confidence in it doing something for them. Just the cash part, right? I'm not gonna go into stocks or anything like that. Because they put it in a bank account and your bank gives you very, very little. It gives you very little. Like you took thousands of dollars, you put it into the bank, and all of a sudden, at the end of the year, you get this $10.99 and it says $1.89. Okay, that is super not motivating. Okay? It's almost like you get more joy in the shoe, looking at it in the shoebox under the bed than you did getting this like ridiculous thing from the bank saying you made only $1, but they got to make thousands of dollars off of you lending it in a pool with all these other they call you actually like a lender to the bank, right? Like, and they're lending your money out.
Karen, you said that too, like the money, I don't think a lot of people understand, like what you put in the bank is not there.
Yes, so here's the other differences. This is another reason why I'm passionate about crypto. So you put your money in a bank, right? What if every single one of us went to the bank at the exact same time for that money? Could we pull it out? Yeah, it's called a bank run. Why? Because they're rehypothecating it and lending it in a pool, your money, to other people, and they're making the profit off of it, right? That's just how traditional banking works. Please don't strike me down, traditional banks. I still need a bank account. But the way crypto works, if you go to a regular exchange, you know, in America right now, I think it's like Coinbase, Kraken, OKX. Like, don't quote me on all of them because I'm gonna forget someone. But what they do is they have a one-to-one reserve. So we had a big failure in the system called FTX, and it really, really hurt crypto as an industry. Ever since then, everything has to be fully audited. One-to-one means for every dollar I put in, they have to prove they have it in reserve to give it back to me. So I put in money into Coinbase, right? They have to prove that they have it. All of us could go at the exact same time and pull it out at the exact same time, and the company would still stand. I see some eyebrows raising over here. Why? It's unheard of. It is one of the safest financial infrastructure systems that's going to be out there, period. And if you don't have a lot of knowledge about it, please start learning about it. The other thing is, real quick, and Megan talks about this, is that let's say you take that money and you put it into the Coinbase, right? And you convert it into a stable coin. How many have heard about stablecoin in the news lately? Like, you've heard about, well, okay, the reason why stablecoins is a huge thing is that right now, crypto companies are allowed to pay you what we call a stablecoin reward, or it's called an interest. So as a business owner, if you're a woman business owner, you take that, you put it into the bank, you can make 3.5% on it. Like, you're making 3.5% on it just for holding it. You don't have to do anything with it. You just put it in there, and it's just sitting there. Okay, and there is a big fight in Washington, D.C. right now. There's a big fight in Congress, and I actually got to go out and speak to members of Congress on this huge fight right now between stable coins continuing to give you this reward, and guess who's stopping the legislation? Banks. Correct. They're totally trying to stop it.
We're going to get one more question in because we
Okay,
have 5
I'm so
minutes.
sorry. Okay. now two more questions.
Karen's not leaving, you guys. So if you're going to lunch, you can talk to her there. She's going to be with us this afternoon before you leave us.
Yes, I'm
later.
not leaving till 7. My
That's
plane doesn't
right.
leave till 7.
So she'll be
we're good.
here, so don't panic. You have lots of time to
And
talk
you can always
with her.
ask me questions offline.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, we have time for, I think I saw Nick. Did you have a question? One more question before we wrap.
Is it working? Okay. Hi, I'm Nick Sally, managing attorney at Tastemakers Legal. I'm curious, when it comes to Bitcoin and things like that, how many of the people you're speaking to are actually looking at it as an asset that can be passed on to their kids when they die, or their family, or as a business asset that can be rolled over and help, you know, their kids and their career and things like that? Are they thinking about succession planning? Are they thinking about legacy?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's one of the most beautiful legacy. I have so many thoughts on this. I think it's a beautiful legacy asset. The reason why is that, one, it's easily transferable. There are even trust companies now that you're lawyers, so that are putting it in there. But the transfer, if it's really well spelled out in the will, it doesn't have to necessarily go to probate. It's literally what we call a multi-sig. So a multi-sig is, imagine Jasmine and I, right? We both are executors, kind of, looking over this asset of Bitcoin or whatever crypto you want. We'll just use Bitcoin as an example. And the will is very stated out, like how it's supposed to be passed along. It's like we could pass along, but we call it a multi-signature because she would have to sign it, I would have to sign it as co-executors of the estate, but it's an instantaneous transfer. It is literally like, boom, like that. Like, once we both sign it, it instantly goes to that person. So in terms of transferability, reduction of paperwork, reduction of legal processes, it's incredible. You don't need a subpoena because it's public knowledge. The blockchain, you can look it up. So there's so many intricacies in the legal profession that I think it's going to make things just seamlessly transitional. And yes, tons of people I know who are in Bitcoin plan on leaving their Bitcoin to their children. In case you don't know about Bitcoin, there's only 21 million coins that are available to actually what we call mine. And so it is a fixed supply. Some of the biggest investors out there said that is the greatest hedge against inflation, not financial advice. But if you follow Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, they're some of the biggest hedge fund managers in the world right now. They both have said Bitcoin is the best asset against inflation right now that they see in the marketplace.
Amazing. Okay, y'all, we're out of time. If you want to give Karin a round of applause. I know, It flew by so fast. I know. Okay, y'all, so next up is lunch over Joe Petit if you have a ticket. It is now sold out. So if you didn't get a ticket, that's okay. We'll be back here at 2 o'clock. And hope you guys will join us for our final session of the afternoon. And then we're going to end the day at a local woman-owned business, which I'll tell you all about when we come back. Excited to see you guys. Thank you.